And welcome back to Consumer Choice Radio here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM and Sauga 960, consumerchoiceradio.com. There's been a lot of stuff in the markets, a lot of stuff with crypto that's in the news, and it's something that David and I are particularly interested in and wanted to make sure that we brought in an expert on the topic. So we're speaking with Christie Harkin. She's the managing editor of technology at CoinDesk, coindesk.com, a great news resource for everything crypto. So, Christie, thanks so much for coming on the radio program.
Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect. So, I would like to get your take. The big news that caused much of the uproar of people who are watching cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin was the purchasing, or I guess the unveiling of the fact that Elon Musk and Tesla now have Bitcoin on their balance sheets, upwards of $1.5 billion worth. And this definitely moved the price. It moved the markets and caused a lot of people to ask a lot of questions. So we figured we'd have you on. Sort of what was your reaction to this, and what does it mean to see a fairly large and legitimate car company now buying into cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, that was an interesting move. Although it was really big, really prominent, and got a lot of media coverage, he is sort of the next in line now. There have been a few big buyers of crypto lately, big names, shall we say, who've been making a bit of a splash in terms of buying Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheets. You've got, Jack Dorsey from Twitter came out with it a little while ago. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, he's been buying up Bitcoin like crazy. And so Elon Musk is just sort of another one, although absolutely it's been one that's grabbed a lot of attention. A lot of that, I think, has to do with his social media presence. He's been pumping a few things lately. And the interesting thing, of course, was that not too long ago, he was saying that Bitcoin was nothing and not worth paying attention to. And all the while, little did we know, he was out there buying it up. So very interesting move.
So on the note of folks who have maybe been outspoken critics of Bitcoin, a previous guest of our show was notorious gold bug Peter Schiff, who is no fan of Bitcoin. For those listening who were not with us when we had Peter Schiff, you can find that episode at consumerchoiceradio.com. So folks like Peter really don't like Bitcoin. Can you explain to our listeners from let's say a technical perspective, where the value is in Bitcoin, not as an investment, but just the idea of a cryptocurrency?
Sure. I think a lot of us in Bitcoin are just waiting for the day when Peter Schiff actually recognizes the value of Bitcoin as digital gold. He is a gold bug. He's been predicting the crash of Bitcoin since it was under $100. And we're now looking at a $60,000 Canadian, $47,000 Bitcoin US. So, I don't think it's going to zero the way he thinks it is, and perhaps he will come around one day. We're holding out hope. But where does Bitcoin have its value? That's a big question. It's an awesome question, and beyond price, it is a beyond price kind of question. So Bitcoin's value comes from several places, and there's some great books out there that I think readers would do well to check out. But also CoinDesk can certainly help. CoinDesk.com has lots of great articles on exactly that point. One thing it's a big question, but it comes down to what is money, and who makes money, and who controls the money that we have, and what gives it the dollar value. It's valuable because we all agree it's valuable, because the government tells us it's valuable, but the government also has the ability to mess with it. It has the ability to increase its value, inflation, deflation. It can make as much money as it wants. It can print it all up, and it can stop printing it all up. What is it backed by? It's backed by our faith in the government giving it value. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a digitally controlled, mathematically controlled currency that cannot be messed with. Nobody can mess with Bitcoin. It comes out 10 minutes, roughly every 10 minutes, another 6.5 Bitcoins are released into the world, and that rate will decrease over time. There will only ever be approximately 21 million Bitcoins. Like, that's it. Nobody can make more of them. And once you have your Bitcoins, nobody can take them away from you if you are the one holding the keys to it. So there's an element of control. It has a built-in scarcity. It has a built-in hardness, and a built-in supply that over time people are recognizing as valuable, especially as the world becomes stranger and stranger, shall we say, and governments become more and more involved in messing around with the value of money. What gives it value? The same thing as any other currency. It's the faith of the people who are using it. It's the desirableness of whatever it is. People ascribe value to the dollar or to gold or to silver or to seashells or rocks simply because they want it, and enough people want it. And that's where Bitcoin, as it becomes more and more useful, and it is super duper secure compared to so many other cryptocurrencies that haven't been around and tried and tested cryptographically the way Bitcoin has, it just proves its value every block that gets added to the Bitcoin blockchain.
And so, on the note of what makes Bitcoin, are all cryptocurrencies made equal? Do all cryptocurrencies have those functions that you just described, or are they? Is Bitcoin alone maybe in its fixed supply and the way in which it is mined? If you could just walk our readers through, I mean, there are countless different types of cryptocurrencies, everything from Ethereum to Dogecoin, which is a coin made after a dog meme. But I'd love to hear your take on if all cryptocurrencies are in fact made equal.
That is another very big question. And I'm going to start by saying no, simply because, and this is not a value judgment, one versus the other. I'm not going to get into that, but not all cryptocurrencies have the same properties as Bitcoin. For one thing, like Ethereum, it does not have a hard supply, a hard cap supply. There's infinite. Ethereum is going to keep on issuing coins. It doesn't have the hard cap. But Ethereum was built for a completely different purpose. It also uses a different type of mining. It uses something called proof of stake, or is going to be using proof of stake, whereas Bitcoin is proof of work. And I'm not going to get into that here because that's just way too much techie stuff. But they have different ways of securing their blockchains. There are other proof of stake coins out there that have been running, and they've got developers who are working on them. And the thing with different coins is they all have different purposes. Many of them have different purposes. And what you have to do when you're looking at them is think, what is it that I am buying and what is it intended to accomplish? Is it supposed to be a currency? Is it supposed to be a store of value? Or is it intended to be used as a utility in order to accomplish something else? And that's where sort of Ethereum comes into it. Is Ethereum's Ether is used in order to accomplish another kind of task, as opposed to be used as currency in the way that we think of money. For the most part, some people will disagree with me on that, but by and large, yeah.
So we're speaking with Christie Harkin. She's the managing editor of technology at CoinDesk at coindesk.com here in Consumer Choice Radio. Christie, if you'll allow me, let's take a nice dive in the nerd pool here for a sec. Let's talk use cases, because I think as someone, I've been interested in Bitcoin a long time, been giving speeches about it, something that I've written about, and I made the mistake of not holding on to it and becoming a Bitcoin billionaire, but actually using it for everyday things and using the ATMs and sending money abroad and connecting with people over that. So, I was not the guy who held forever because I believed in the use cases. But since you cover more of the technology side of this, what are a sort of the predominant use cases that we are seeing now? Because right now, when people think Bitcoin, they only think, mining in China with with a million computers, or they think of the price going up and down, and they're not really thinking about the other side of the equation of all the technological possibilities.
There's a lot of, now, are we talking use cases for Bitcoin specifically, or
For Bitcoin, just because I know it is likely the area
Okay.
where they're probably the most, yes.
Sure. Right now, the narrative is Bitcoin's primary use cases as a store of value. So yeah, going and, buying a pizza with Bitcoin, or whatever, has proven to be, in hindsight, maybe not the way to go. On the other hand, you have to forgive yourself for that, because in the early days, it really was being used as, let's see what we can do with it. Let's use it. Heck, I spent Bitcoin. I paid for a flight for my son using Bitcoin back in 2014, 2015, I think. And now I think, oh man, I could have sent him around the world a few times on that, but that's not the point. Using Bitcoin, there's nothing wrong with using Bitcoin. Feel free. Like, it absolutely can be used as a currency, especially now that we've got some layer 2 solutions that are helping with the scaling of the protocol, and we've got like the Lightning Network. You can send smaller amounts of Bitcoin for practically no fees, very, very quickly. And I mean, it's a technology that's still got its kinks and it's being worked on, but these are things that are slowly being built. And Bitcoin is a slow burn, slow growth kind of, we don't want to mess with the tech. And, this is not a thing where you've got like an enormous market cap and all this money invested in it. And you don't want to be doing the, move fast and break things when you're talking about the Bitcoin blockchain. So the use case to spend it is absolutely there. And there was a push before Christmas. Was it Bitcoin? I think on Bitcoin Black Friday, there was a push, to spend your Bitcoin. But then, by all means, buy it back. If you're going to spend $20 on something or $100 on something, sure, spend $100 of Bitcoin, but then take that $100 and buy back your Bitcoin so you could hold on to it. Because that's how things are going to grow. That's how the ecosystem in Bitcoin is going to grow. But really, until that infrastructure gets built out and is more user friendly and more secure, when the second layer solutions, the scaling solutions like Lightning and the wallets become more user friendly and more secure, in the meantime, you want to be careful in spending your Bitcoin. So for now, people are saying the use case is as a store of value, as a hedge against inflation, as the money in your bank account becomes worth less and less and less every day right now. There are countries with negative interest rates. I think, are you in one of them?
Not yet, but Switzerland definitely.
Not yet?
So the neighbor, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the money in your bank account is getting, the buying power of the money in your bank account is decreasing all the time. Whereas the Bitcoin in your Bitcoin wallet, the purchasing power of that against the dollar is going up and up and up. So absolutely, it's a great store of value right now. And yes, the market is volatile. And yes, things are going to make it go boom and bust. But if you're looking at a long-term horizon, shall we say, chances are against the dollar, the store of value is where its value is. That, and then the other uses for Bitcoin are for transferring it across borders in a very efficient manner that also is censorship resistant. So you can send money to anybody who has a Bitcoin wallet. Your wallet you can send Bitcoin from your wallet to anybody else's wallet anywhere in the world without a middleman, without anybody stopping you. So that is another wonderful use case.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And it's been used by freedom fighters and journalists, and yeah, there's some really great use cases that way.
Well, unfortunately, that wraps up our conversation. But Christie, we're going to have you back on the show for more Bitcoin and cryptocurrency analysis down the road. So thank you very much for joining us on Consumer Choice Radio.
Thank you. And the Bitcoin TV, we have CoinDesk TV now is on at 3:00 Eastern time. You can check out all about Bitcoin if you want to find out more.
Oh,
Perfect.
cool.
Coindesk.com. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.